This time on episode 241 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, The One Who Will Save Us All.
I'm James.
I'm Carrie.
I'm Lacey.
And I'm Lee at Just One More Fix,
A proud member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the show you're listening to now.
The opinions expressed are those of each individual host.
Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And get ready, because geekiness begins in 3,
2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. The show is recorded on Sunday, May 6, 2018, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios, buried deep within the lighthouse, and broadcast galactic-wide via www.geeks.live. Michelle, happy National Lemonade Day!
That is my favorite Beyonce album.
Also, lemonade is something that we can make with all those extra lemons that Deke seems to have found and put on Daisy's bed.
Yeah, who knew the lighthouse had a secret lemon orchard in the back?
You think it's part of that outdoor area on deck whatever or level whatever that came about because of the weird fantasy world?
Possibly.
Okay, we'll discuss that later. In the meantime, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Marvel's Defenders series on Netflix, Legion on FX, possibly The Gifted on Fox, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all 18, 19, 20, 21 movies of it right now, and the Marvel Comic Universe in general.
Because of letting the cat out of the food sack.
If you'd like to talk to us about letting the cat out of the metaphorical and probably literal food sack, you can catch us on our website, legendsofshield.com.
If you'd like to talk about your cat, you can leave us a voicemail at 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
If you want to leave Michelle and the other ladies who are not here this week a message on Facebook, because Facebook has booted Stargate Pioneer off of Facebook, go ahead and catch us at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Podcasts on Facebook and tell us about your cat.
You can tweet at us about your favorite feline on Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can leave us a comment on this podcast, which is streamed live on YouTube at youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
And if you have an Amazon device, you can tell it to enable Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. skill.
And Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network. A couple of announcements right now. First of all, Agents Haley and Lauren are off for the week. They were so encumbered by the 3 hours of podcasting that we did last week that they just needed a day off. They just need to blow off some steam and take care of themselves, and they're fully capable of doing that, so we will see them back next week. The other announcement I'd like to make is yesterday, Cinco de Mayo, the Revenge of the Sith, whatever, the day after Star Wars Day, we had Free Comic Book Day, and both Michelle and I had a chance to check out our local comic books shop. So Michelle, how was your Free Comic Book Day?
Well, I didn't get there until in the afternoon because I had to take my dog to the vet. But when I got there, a lot of, they released a list of everything that's going to be available. A lot of them were gone. So a lot of people must have shown up in the morning. I got a copy of the Power Rangers, the Doctor Who, and one of the DC comics with the girls. And I was able to also pick up my regular comic books. But there was a nice crowd, even then.
Mine wasn't as crowded. They warned me that there would be lined up the street at 11 o'clock when they opened. Unfortunately, I was not able to get there at 11 o'clock. I had other things going on in my life. Matter of fact, I didn't know if I was actually going to get to the comic book store on comic book day because of everything going on in my life. As it turns out, I escaped and I bought lunch for everybody. And in the process of buying lunch, I swung by the comic book shop. And it was about 1 p.m., so they had been open for a couple of hours. The first thing I noticed, and I wish I would have taken a picture of it, but really I was running short on time. There was a wonderful Spider-Man and Deadpool cosplayers. I mean, these costumes looked like they were hero costumes from the movies, and they were acting like Spider-Man and Deadpool, and they were interacting with the little kids that were walking up and down the sidewalk and coming in the comic book store and everything. And they were posing for pictures with them and everything. So that was really fun. And apparently there were other cosplayers during the day, like a Hulk and stuff like that. But it was really interesting to me that they had hero-like costumes for Spider-Man and Deadpool, which I guess it might not be that difficult to do, but they really pulled it off. So as a miracle I got to the store at all, I did see the cosplayers, so that was great. I went in, they had, I guess there was 10 free comics that they were giving away yesterday, the publishers, and they had separated, or 10, 12, something like that. And they had separated them into 2 bags, one for younger readers, one for older readers. You could get one, but not the other. So I just took the one with the older reader, and I got the Avengers. I got the Doctor Who book. I got the Power Rangers book. Maybe it was in the older one because I have no idea. So I got a few of the books, and honestly, I haven't had a chance to delve into them. But I'm looking forward to that later tonight. And it was fun. And if you missed out and you did not get to Free Comic Book Day at your favorite comic book shop, I heartily encourage you to head there next year. So, Michelle, you head back next year?
Yes, and hopefully I can get there at the opening because they usually have donuts.
The donuts. If I would have known that, I would have gone out early and gotten everybody lunch that way. Donuts, free comics. Hey, oh, good. All right, with that, we're going to get on to our discussion of the episode. Just 2 days ago, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aired their recent episode, The One Who Will Save Us All, and that was the title, and I think the theme of the episode as well. So, Michelle, what's up with that?
Well, Talbot, our favorite stash, thinks he can save us all, that he is Earth's mightiest hero.
He does think he is Earth's mightiest hero, and I've heard that a lot this season, quite a bit. I mean, I know that's a Marvel thing, but does everybody consider themselves Earth's mightiest heroes in the Marvel universe?
Except for Captain America, because he's a humble, awesome guy. And because he doesn't really have an ego, that sort of makes him our greatest hero, because he's really awesome.
Captain America is awesome. My favorite Marvel character, actually, it's Captain America. Go figure. Well, this episode was directed by Cherie Gierhart, which I looked into Cherie Gierhart. And not only is this the first discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's her first directing credit ever. So this lady definitely has some talent, because I really enjoyed this episode. Michelle and I will talk about it in a little bit, but she is basically batting cleanup. And this is the 5th season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., might be the last. And this is the last episode before the penultimate episode, before the final episode. So I'm saying she's batting cleanup, and she did a bang up job out of nowhere, no other directing credits. And she really nailed this one. So Cherie, you did an awesome job, and I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Now, she has been a director, but she has acted a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And one of her acting appearances was on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode Boom, which was the 13th episode of the 4th season. It was our episode number 161, in which she played, get this, Michelle, an agent.
So basically a red shirt.
Basically, yep. And I'd have to go back to that episode to see exactly what happened to her there. But yeah, Boom, an agent. Now, she has had a couple of second unit director or assistant directing credits since 2017. She did an assistant director credit of The Inhumans, one of the SWAT, and then she's been in a total of 5 different episodes. One of The Bull in 2000, and one in a show called The Mist in 2007, one in the series The Shield, which is not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a cop-related show back in 2008, and one episode of The Walking Dead in 2012, and of course this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So really, she's coming out of nowhere, and I really enjoyed her work. What do you think, Michelle?
This is an amazing first outing. And if this is her first directing job, she has a lot of promise, and I can't wait to see more from her.
I can't either. Now, she was paired up with kind of a veteran writer of the series.
Yes, this episode was written by Brent Fletcher. This is the 7th discussion appearance on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Has 8 credits since 2001, including 1 Angel, 1 Lost, 1 Friday Night Lights, 1 Spartacus Gods of the Arena, 8 Spartacus War of the Damned, and 12 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Also produced Spartacus War of the Damned, Deception, Spartacus Gods of the Arena, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Brent was one of my favorite writers all along, too, so it was great to have him as well in this spot in the series. Now, ABC aired this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which happens to be the 20th episode this season, the 5th season, and the overall 109th episode, I believe, could be 108th. Anyway, it aired on Friday, May 4th, 2018, to a live rating of 1.62, which is indeed another series low, but it's basically steady from 1.63 last week with option 2. And if you scroll down all of the ratings from Orientation, which was the season 5 opening part 1 and part 2 with 2.54, and then ending up now with 1.62, it's not that much variation between the two. You're talking less than 0.1. So I think it's held up rather well. And if they do come back next fall, which I don't know if they will or not, we'll talk about that later, I think they're in a decent position as long as it's marketed well and as long as they have a good storyline going forward. But with the results from Infinity War, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Anyway, 1.62 in my opinion at this point in the season is actually a pretty good thing. It's low for a network show. It's even low for a CW show, but it's Friday night on ABC and we're in May. So what are you going to do?
I wonder what their Live +7 numbers are.
That's a good point. I have not coalesced that data yet. It's all been just the actual live ratings as I can take them from week to week. So I'll look into the Live +7 data and see what we can get from there, because we don't always get that for every week, but I bet you we're going to get that for most of the season. So I'll do that. I'll tell you what, Michelle, I'll put that together for next week. I'll make a note of it and I will try to get that out before the season finale. Anyway, Michelle, you watched the episode, and not only in your house did you watch the episode, but your mom watched the episode. And this is important because she is a non-geek. She just watches it for the entertainment value. She's our barometer to how the average Joe or average Jane feels about the episode. So, Michelle, what did your mom think?
Again, she enjoyed it. She was surprised by the Thanos mention. She didn't think that it was going to actually connect to the movie. You know, she was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't like a critique. It was just a surprise. And she is just like, I have no idea where this show is going, and I like it because it's tense and it's entertaining. And she's just, I want to know more. I want to know more. And then I told her it was 2 episodes left, and she just went, what? Just 2? It's like, yes, Mom.
Yeah,
just 2.
We're in May, which is unusual, actually, where this show actually premiered in early December, basically. So it left off all the September and October and November time frames, and it still got to the point where it's at today, where we're just 2 weeks away from the finale. So it is a great show. I'm glad she mentioned that she doesn't know where it's going, because I'm in the same boat where I don't know where this is going either. And we're just going to get the cat out of the bag right now, because I've alluded to it several times, and I don't think we can have the discussion of the rest of the episode without saying it. In 2 episodes, the season finale is titled The End. Okay, so the last episode's titled The End. We know what happens in Infinity War with Thanos, and this could be a great ruse to not bring back the show for another year or literally end it. And I would hate for them to end it the way they ended Infinity War, because there is no end. It's like, whoa, like half of the cast is gone. And why did that happen? And what's going to happen after that? So Michelle, this is just so up in the air right now. If you do connect it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it's happening at the same time. They did mention Thanos' invasion is happening right now. I don't know what's going to happen.
I just wonder if it's more of like the end of the time loop. We've been discussing how this time thing is working. Fitz is like what has happened will happen, and we can't break it. But others are trying to prevent that awful future from happening. And I'm hoping that it's the end to the looping of time.
They could go any way with it, right? They could go the end of looping of time. They could go the end of the team. If they all disappear, they could go the end of the Earth, because Thanos basically comes in and takes half of the population, just like a snap of his fingers, literally and figuratively. You don't know. At this point, you're 2 weeks away and you do not know what's going to happen. Wonderful story writing, wonderful connection within the Infinity War. And by the way, we're outside of the spoiler period that the producers have mandated. So yeah, unfortunately, this is a spoiler-filled episode, and I will state as such in the show notes for Infinity War. Wow. So we'll see what Lauren and Haley think about it next week. Of course, they'll have the benefit of watching next week's episode as well. So we'll see what happens there. Another thing, Michelle, that you want to talk about basically is Talbot's journey within the show, because it is definitely Adrian Pazar did an excellent job of playing the character of Talbot and playing the character of Gravitonium, and what happens along the way. He's really evolving really quickly, and Adrian Pazar is just pulling it off wonderfully.
Yeah, the general really comes out. He says, I can tame these voices because all they needed was a strong mind, a strong general. He's like, we are at war. And it's interesting how he sees Phil at first as his wingman. And Coulson doesn't really do a really good job of finessing his way with Talbot, because Coulson keeps, hey, maybe you're going too fast. Maybe we shouldn't take over the ship. Why don't we just pump the brakes? And it just seems like over the episode, Talbot just keeps remembering every single time he's worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. how they have lied or, not told the truth. And according to certain perspectives, that is the same as lying. And how antagonistic the relationship has been, and has really been smooth sailing. And then at the end, he is seeing Coulson now as the enemy. And even though Coulson is like, that Cassius guy, he's playing you. And it's just all of these emotions have built up, and he's just vomiting all these things, problems that he's had with S.H.I.E.L.D. And S.H.I.E.L.D. becomes the enemy, and he believes this Cassius guy that he's known for 5 minutes.
All of 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like. Seems like a good 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, it was like, Thanos is coming and I am the hero. And it's like, they knew how to stroke his ego. Hale almost got away with stroking his ego, but then she tried to do the compliance thing, and then she got compacted. And then Phil, and then with S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up, with Daisy and May coming up going, we're here to rescue you. And he's just so full of himself at this point. I don't need rescuing. I am the S.H.I.E.L.D. now.
I need to be the most important, powerful person in the universe, which, when you think about it, inside the MCU, just like we knew that there's going to be future movies with Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man, for instance. So that different characters come back at the end of the Infinity War. I mean, that's a self-spoiler right there that the Russo brothers, who directed Infinity War, just couldn't get out of. The same is true here. He's not going to be the most powerful person in the universe because that's Thanos. He's not going to beat Thanos because none of the Avengers could, and they have a whole nother movie dealing with it. So it's not going to come from Adrian Pasdar as Gravitonium. It's going to come from the Avengers. So you already know that there's bounds around this whole thing, and this is one of the detriments of it being part of a connected universe. But first of all, Adrian Pasdar was so great. So first of all the losers needed was a general to get them in line, basically, is what he said. So he's starting to be full of himself if he isn't already. And then he goes on and, as you said, just takes care of Hale. We need to talk about Hale's ending here because this is the end of Hale. There's no coming back from this. She is compacted into a little ball and just squished, and that's it. You're not coming back from that. Is this an adequate ending to Hale? Because she half helps out, but then turns around and spites people. And I just see her Hydra training coming through more and more. I don't think if she was not salvageable. She was not redeemable, in my opinion, because there was going to be something that happened all the time with her, because she was the last Hydra head, at least that we know of in the MCU. So I don't know. I think that was an adequate end. What do you think?
She did mention how the anger she carried inside of her twisted her. She thought she could do something different with Ruby, but in the end, she realized I just did what Hydra wanted me to do. And even though she started to self-reflect the moment that she got pushed into a corner and the moment she could take advantage of the situation, she was immediately Hydra. And Talbot was like, nope, we're going to get rid of Hydra once and for all, because he saw Hydra as weak. They had no right to speak for Earth at all. Hydra had no right to make this deal with the Confederacy and for the protection. And we learned that Hydra was also being played because the Confederacy had no plans on actually helping Earth. They just wanted our stuff.
Yeah, grabbing it before Thanos got there.
Yeah, so I think this is a fitting end. She got killed by her own project.
She did. Right. So Coulson had a great quote in there because he was like, well, he sees her in the prison cell, which kind of reminded me of a Star Wars prison cell, and also kind of reminded me of the prison cell on board the original bus. You remember that from season 1?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so it reminded me of both the prison cell kind of on the Death Star and the prison cell on the bus. So they might have cobbled together a set from that, or the Inhumans or something like that. But anyway, they're talking, right? And Coulson's like, well, remember that little project that you were doing to create the Destroyer of Worlds? Well, I kind of guess it happened. And she's like, oh, who went in there, Daisy? Think a little bit outside of the box. And I will say, based on our conversation previously, think a little bit of outside of the burrito.
Good pull.
Because we're calling the Captain America thing the Captain America burrito thing. So the chamber. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, she said that this came out with the exposition about what the Confederacy was and what their deal was with them. I mean, you knew this was not going to go well. There's no way that once they have all that stuff, what are they going to defend Earth for? What is their rationale to die in front of Thanos? They don't have anything, so you knew that wasn't going to happen. Although through this interaction with the Confederacy that Talbot had, then they found out that there were more deposits of gravitonium in Earth, and that Ian Quinn actually knew where one of the veins were running because it was at the bottom of one of his mines. And remember, he's been absorbed by the gravitonium, so he just tells Talbot, yeah, it's right there. He just told me.
And during the meeting with the Confederacy, Talbot eats one of the people, and I keep saying gravitonium is hungry. And gravitonium was like this creature guy. He's going to be tasty. So let's just go ahead and envelop him, eat him, and now you have a seat at the table.
See, I took that a little bit. So I was thinking about that when it happened. I was like, is Gravitonium hungry here? And I can see that. But I also see a flip side of the coin where Gravitonium or Talbot was looking at this guy going, he's got to establish dominance. And by picking on the quote unquote leader, even though they're all equals, but everybody like defer to him, the equal or the leader, by taking him out, then everybody else will either be scared or join them, as well as you get the information that you need from him when he becomes part of you. So, okay, hungry, but also there was a strategic and tactical advantage of doing that. So I think it was a little bit more than hungry.
He was surprised that happened. I watched this again, he was going to do the crunchy compacting thing.
Yep.
And then the eating happened, and Talbot looked at his hand like, oh, okay.
Yeah, this is new. I can do this. Yeah. Okay. So I could see, well, like I said, I could see both ways that Gravitonium was both hungry and thinking strategically. So it would seem to be the right thing to do. And let's go forward. And when he returns back to the ship, he does the same thing. Is he kind of crunches Coulson a little bit and makes him kneel to submit to him. And you knew at that point things were going to go all sorts of bad.
Yes. Now, again, Hale tried to paint Coulson as the bad guy. And then again, Daisy and May coming in didn't help because he thought, oh, this is a mutiny. You're going to take everything away from me. And then Daisy attacks him and he's just smiling, even though the quake is kind of pushing him. He's still like enjoying it, like it tickles. And he was just able to, do his thing and knock Daisy out and say they're prisoners of war. We're going to treat them accordingly. And now Daisy is a gift.
Gift to Cassius, the dad of the same Cassius's brothers that we saw earlier in the season, which was in the future. So is that really earlier or late? I don't know. My head hurts with the time travel there. But yeah, it's the same Cassius. And does this guy have a name? Is his name Tarigan, or do we know his name?
I just call him Cassius.
Yep, right. Papa Cassius.
Papa Cassius. There we go.
Here we go. So, yep, he's in play now. And we know in the future that he eventually rules the planet. So, I don't know. We got 2 hours left. So they either save the planet or they don't. I don't know. We'll find out what happens. I think the planet's going to be safe because if they don't save the planet, then Infinity War 2 or whatever they're going to call it doesn't have an Earth. So they got to fix it before then. Just my opinion. All right, so that was the one big thing throughout the entire episode, Talbot's kind of journey in going into the crazy god sort of mentality. And, oh, by the way, before we move on, Adrian Pasdar finally is becoming a superhero because he played kind of a hero in the series Heroes, but okay, so that's not really a superhero, as a lot of people will say nowadays, but now he's finally a superhero, or maybe a supervillain. I don't know. What would you say, Michelle?
Well, let's see. He's got the cool outfit, got the robe, he's got the goatee thing going on. He wants to go and get a whole bunch more gravitonium, which I'm sure pulling gravitonium out of the earth could crack it. I think it's one of those things where he's like, I am doing good. I think I'm a hero, but in reality, he's a supervillain.
Okay. So he thinks he's a hero in his own mind, but everywhere else, he's a supervillain.
Exactly.
All right. Well, at least he's pulling it off well. And by the way, Michelle, let's take a little informal poll between you and me. Are you a cape gal or a no cape gal?
No capes.
No capes. Yeah, I think I'd go no cape as well. Because, like, if you cross the streams and over the DC universe, you see what Supergirl is going through right now with her cape and everything. That'd be totally me. I'd trip over that thing left, right, and backwards. So I'd no cape. Nope. Just like Coulson. So we're on Team Coulson there with the no capes.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's Talbot's journey. I'm sure Lauren and Haley will have a lot more to say about Talbot, the goatee, and Gravitonium. But we're going to move on into the other superhero fight that we saw this episode, which was short-lived, but it's been a long time coming, in my opinion. It was Daisy versus Yo-Yo in the hallways of the lighthouse. They were going at it pretty hard.
Yeah, they were using their fists instead of their words. And you know what gets me? That's typically like, quote unquote, a guy thing. Like guys are seen as like, oh, they just need to have a fight. And then they punch each other for a while. And then they're like, okay, we're cool now because we had this, type of fight. But when it comes to Daisy and Yo-Yo, they're really going at it. Mama May's got to stop it. But you can tell they still have problems because Daisy is like, if you do not get on my side, you just need to leave.
Pretty much. So a couple of things there. First of all, Daisy did have her mom in a bag. So if somebody stole my mom from me in a bag, first of all, I wouldn't have dug her up. But anyway, if somebody did, and I'd be a little mad about that and I'd want to hit her too. And I'm a little surprised that Yo-Yo allowed that to happen because she could have reacted a lot faster. But anyway, so yeah, they had a non-superhero fight. Then they used their powers. And to me, it kind of looked like Daisy was ultimately kind of had the upper hand, but I don't know how that would turn out. I did like Mama May coming in, shooting the gun off and saying, yeah, no, stop it. And then they did. So that was a nice scene, but it didn't conclude anything. It basically said that there was still this, the team is broken. And this is just an example of that. You have people that are just broken left, right, and backwards. Fitz and Mac, you've got Yo-Yo and Mac, you've got, everybody is not one cohesive team. And this is difficult to watch after watching them fight together against various enemies for years. And you're just seeing this team almost dysfunctional as it goes forward. It's hard to watch.
Daisy has the potential of being a really good leader, but she is obsessed with Coulson. And because of this, her leadership style is very, you do it my way or not. Saving Coulson is the priority. Even though there's this bigger thing happening, she still is like, Coulson, we have to save Coulson. We have to save Coulson. And I'm wondering if there's that phrase, Coulson will put the pieces together. If you look at the team as broken, maybe Coulson is the one that could put the team back together.
That's the only thing that I can think of at this point, that Coulson will put the team back together and then he'll die. Because I think in order for us to move on, it's like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, is that the one way to get forward is to let Coulson die. And that has already been foretold to us by future Yo-Yo. So I think he's got to die in pulling the team together. I mean, not maybe the same thing all at one action, but it could be. I don't know. We have precious little time left. There's, say, 42 minutes per episode, right? There's 2 episodes. So you have 84 minutes left of this show in this season, possibly forever. And there's a lot to accomplish, a lot to bring together, and one of which is bringing back the team. So a couple of examples of this is Fitz's and Mac's conversation as they're going back and forth. Simmons, or I like to call her Nana, because Nana and Boba, right? So Simmons and Daisy, she's like, I think we may be crossing a line. And this is the same person that got Fitz out of jail and went to go do something and ended up basically creating Ruby as Gravitonium. I mean, not willingly, that was under duress. But so Simmons is saying that they're crossing a line, or Nana is saying that they're crossing a line. And that's something. So, and you've got Yo-Yo and Mac at odds. Like, Mac won't let Yo-Yo touch her. And I don't think it had anything to do with the robo hands. He just didn't want Yo-Yo to touch him. And it's every single interaction. And let me get back to the director of this episode. The actual dialogue, the scenes between characters, even the Deke and Daisy scene that was in there, Cherie Gierhart did a phenomenal job pulling all this together. and you had action scenes, you had the tough dialogue scenes, the meaningful, the emotional stuff, the Talbot building up as a supervillain. That is why Cherie Gierhart, I look for, as Michelle said, I look forward to great things from her, just as Michelle did, because she did an excellent job of pulling this whole thing together. So out of nowhere, coming out with such a ringer. This is amazing.
Yeah, when I watch the show, I tweet as well, and one of the things that I said is like, I think Mac is like Captain America, and there's that one shot where he is telling Fitz that we need to be better than just killers, and the way he's shot, it's a little bit of like an up angle, so you can really feel his height, but he's also positioned where you can like see like his chest out, and it's very reminiscent of a Captain America pose from the comics. It's not exactly, but it just sort of really reminded me of that. And I just thought that was a very interesting way of framing Mac and also putting him alone in that shot. Like he's just like, that's it. He's like alone. And it's really interesting. Like he's like the heart and soul in a way now, and he's alone. It's kind of painful.
Right. In that particular scene, he was backing up away from Fitz. He did close back in a little bit, and he basically ended it by saying, you're going to have to fix yourself, because what you're doing right now is not good. It's not working for you. It's not the good Fitz. You need to fix it. And that was an interesting statement, foreboding something's going to have to happen again in the next 84 minutes of this show. We also see the odium again, and this is the stuff that Cassius took to make him crazy. It's the last bout of adrenaline in your life. You know, the thing that I took from odium is that, and I wish Lauren was here because she could go into the biology of it, but you are injured, you are on the battlefield, and you need to do some major damage before you completely go out of it. And so you take this juice and you really ramp up your capabilities and your general, and you go until your heart literally explodes. And it is rearing its head in here. You have the centipede stuff that Daisy brought back from the Candyman last episode, I think that was. And you have some things that are going to come together to possibly save Coulson. I'm thinking Coulson's going to reject it as much as he can, because he doesn't want anything that will extend his life. So the team is doing something that Coulson doesn't want them to do, because he's done. And again, 84 minutes, we'll see what happens with that. I mentioned it before, and I need to mention it again. Where did Deke get all those lemons? Because he says he's spending every waking day back in the lighthouse, which he's escaped from in the future, but he came into the past. So he had to find the lemons somewhere in the light. Where did he get those lemons from?
Like I said, I think they've got a good store of certain fruits and vegetables, or they've got something, or he snuck out to the store and he just didn't tell anybody.
That I could see. Lying about spending all of his days in there. Yeah, I could see. And then getting the fresh air from the Talbot going into the sky on his flying carpet. Flying carpet grate? What are we going to call it?
The flying piece of concrete?
A whole new world?
Exactly.
Little Latin reference right there. All right. We get S.H.I.E.L.D's, at least as far as we know, because who knows what's going to happen in the Captain Marvel movie, but we get S.H.I.E.L.D's first spaceship in the MCU.
Space bus!
Space bus! Yay! So I can say the whole MECO thing, which stands for Main Engine Cutoff, MECO, by the way, MECO. Okay, if that's what you take out of a launch, okay, you know, that is one of the main things, but I think they did pretty good. I mean, the thing did shoot up into the sky. I'm worried about it coming back down, though, because that thing's not optimized for re-entry.
Well, they do have cloaking, so perhaps the cloaking also is a type of shield that will allow them to come in. And if they come in at the right angle, which is what, like 33 or something coming back in?
It depends on what your heat absorbing is. the aerodynamic forces on the wings. Okay, so the wings are optimized for flight in the atmosphere. They're not optimized for flight coming back into the atmosphere. So there's going to be some additional stress. I'm sure Fitz has shielded it all up. So we'll just take that for what it is. By the way, talking about all that, I just flashed into something. So we've been talking about Avatar off and on the last few weeks. And like, when's the last time anybody has seen Avatar, right? Because we talked about James Cameron and stuff like that. Guess what I've been having on in the background the last couple of days as I've been cleaning and walking around the house?
Avatar?
That's right, Avatar. Brought it out of the Blu-ray box probably for the first time since 2010, and I've had it on. I surprisingly didn't remember most of the movie, but I did remember the important parts. So amazingly, so this was made in 2009. So a lot of the 3D graphics that they have, and you know, the movements to show graphics in holographic projection and stuff. A lot of that, I don't know if that was the first time it was ever used, but I've seen that in everything since. So that might have been groundbreaking as far as the 3D computer graphics and stuff like that. So if you haven't seen Avatar in a while, you might want to pick it up and just see what I think is the origin of that technology in the cinematic space. Aside from that, it was an okay movie. I won't be watching it too much more. Just kept bringing it up on the podcast. I'm like, maybe I should watch it. So I did. So 2 episodes left. What do you want to happen outside of the ending in those 2 episodes?
Since they mentioned Thanos, we have to have Fury or Hill or something. We've been talking about this many different times. How is S.H.I.E.L.D. connected? We thought perhaps maybe this was happening either after Infinity War or way before. We didn't know if it was happening at the same time, and now it's happening at the same time. And Infinity War happens over what, like 3 days?
If that.
So that means these 2 next episodes have to take place close together. So what do I want to see? It obviously needs to have a type of ending to where it doesn't need to have Infinity War Part 2. And it would be great to have Fury or Hill back.
Yeah, just as a cameo, maybe.
Yeah, like bringing them back in. I think that's what the Thanos thing really threw me. Because at the end of Infinity War, you see Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and you've never heard them again on the show. You don't hear Coulson go, oh, by the way, I filled in Hill and I told her all about this and she approves of my plan or something like that. It's like they've been their own little island for so long. It would be nice to finally, if this is it, finally incorporating them back in somehow and then tying that in a nice little bow.
Okay. I want to go back just a couple of seasons, and I think these were storylines that were wrapped up and don't necessarily need to be there, but just for nostalgia reasons, I'd like to see it. First of all, I'd like to see Daisy's dad again, and like her visiting the pet store or veterinary clinic and just seeing her dad again. I would like to see that. And I would also like to see Lolo one last time. So those are the 2 things that if they can fit in the next 2 episodes, I would be glad about. Do I need it? No, but I do agree with the whole Thanos thing. They've mentioned it way too much that there needs to be a continued mention, or you bring that storyline all the way through to the end. And I'm just thinking in my head, even though Daisy has been kind of quote unquote captured by Cassius, I do see her back on Earth because we're not out of the timeline yet. We're not out of that time loop. And it does end with Daisy running into that building, right, with her blue jumpsuit. So I think we need to see that as well. So I think she comes back to Earth. So we'll see how that goes. And I've been loving this season. Best comic book show on TV right now, in my opinion. And I can't wait for the next 2 episodes. If they're the last 2 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever, I'll be happy with where this season and where the show has taken me so far. And I would like some more, but it is what it is. Maybe sometimes you leave before people want you to leave, sort of thing, right, Michelle?
Exactly. There's a couple of comic book shows where we're like, no, this was it. This would be okay. Oh, it got renewed. Oh, darn. It would be nice if, it would be nice if, because we've read, the producers have said this, the end episode can make a nice series finale. And if it does, then let's let it be. Let us want more, but be satisfied with how it ended.
Yeah, bring some of these characters back in other properties. At this point in time, everything is still allegedly all connected. So yeah, these characters can show up in any given show. It could be like Worf, right? From The Next Generation, he ends up in DS9 for years. You could have stuff like that. And if these actors want to move on to something else, they would. Although you'd be crazy to want out of the MCU right now, just because it is just such a big moneymaker. If you could hang on to something in the MCU, you can make money. Although if you want to do something else with your career, I could see that too. Some people just like, I don't want to be that guy that's been in, like Michael Dorn. I don't want to be considered Worf for the rest of my career. I don't know if he does or doesn't, but I mean, it's just an example of, you spend 14 years of your life doing something and then that is it. People think of you as Worf for the rest of your life. Anyway, next week, we'll be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 109th episode, which is the 21st episode of the 5th season. And it is the penultimate episode, at least in the season, if not the series. It's entitled The Force of Gravity. And we will be talking about that Sunday, May 13th. A special note, as we've spoiled all through the podcast here, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 110th episode season and possibly series finale is entitled The End, at least for now that I've seen. So we will see if it is literally the end or if it's just a convenient jumping off point to something else. So Michelle, in the meantime, if our listeners want to catch some other geeky content, what would you recommend that they check out?
Well, they should go to the GonnaGeek.com network, where we have over 20 shows, wide variety of topics, everything from tech to talking about general geeky news and so forth. And we have a new show. It's called On the Bubble Podcast. In this particular episode, Marvel's Most Wanted, the fan campaign to get ABC to release the Most Wanted pilot is discussed. And I think it's an interesting premise for the podcast. They talk about things that was almost canceled, should be canceled, could have happened. So it's a very interesting topic for a podcast.
Yep. So first of all, congratulations and welcome to the network, Joshua Liston out of Australia. He's one of the main players basically out of Australian podcasting. And we're just fortunate to have one of his shows on our network, On the Bubble. On the Bubble has done various different shows that have been on the cancellation bubble and either have been canceled or continue. And Josh does a great job of bringing that forward. There's another episode that Joshua is going to be doing here that will bring forth that a lot of fans of comic book TV shows will like the next episode. But this is what's out right now. It's Marvel Most Wanted. So you can catch that at the GonnaGeek.com network. And once again, congratulations, Joshua Liston, for being part of the network. In the meantime, I think it's time that we're just going to get this episode out. And I think in order to get out this week, Michelle, I think we should take the space bus and rocket this one out. I just want to thank all of our listeners for downloading the show, for watching it on YouTube and everything. It's really been great. And I want to thank all of my co-hosts, including Michelle, who's here today, as well as Lauren and Haley, for making this such a great show. And it's been a fun show to do this past 5 years. Hopefully we'll get another year or two out of the show. There's plenty of Marvel content to go through, but I just want to thank you for being my co-host on the show.
I also like to thank everyone who interacts with us on social media. Lauren live tweets the show, and I know she enjoys it when people tweet back and that interaction. So thank you to everyone who engages us. Send voicemail, send us news items. We love hearing from you.
Indeed. My phone has the notifications on for the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Twitter account. I don't know if yours does, Michelle, or not, but Friday nights, I can't use my phone. So I put it on silent, put it away, and just let it go, because all of you are liking her tweets. You're responding to Lauren's tweets and Michelle when she steps in. And it is a fun time to go back and read afterwards once I've actually watched the show. And thank you very much for interacting there. So with that, until next time, I'm Director SP. Hopefully Director Fury won't be mad at me for that.
And I'm Consultant Michelle.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com, where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D is copyright 2018.